Most of this industry is built on reputation, and if you are not delivering a great mix for any reason, that always comes back to rest on you. If you're new here, I'm Andrew, and I'm a live sound engineer mixing concerts and spoken word events. You have to work hard to be a live sound engineer, and in the beginning, we're often just happy to have a job. But some places will take advantage of that, and these places are often the ones with the worst pay and the worst conditions. In this video, we're going to take a look at 3 warning signs that you might not want to take a job at the venue, and that doing so could be bad for you in the long term. I'll preface this by saying that if you're totally green, then getting experience is the most important thing you can do. Then I think you should take whatever job you can get, even if it might be terrible. You should check out my free guide, 3 Steps to Perfect EQ. I'll leave a link in the description down below. But let's dive in. The first thing I want you to look out for is the quality of the PA. Look for a known brand. We're talking D&B, Meyer, Acoustics. If it's some sort of random no-name speaker that you've never heard of before, those suck. That is not a good sign to begin with. You're going to find it very difficult to get a good mix. Another thing that you want to look out for is that there is enough PA for the venue. If it's a huge room and there are 2 little tops trying to cover the whole room, that's not good. You want to look out for delay speakers that might be covering uncovered areas like behind pillars and under balconies. And the third thing that you want to look out for is that the PA is powerful enough to cover the space, because if it can't safely fill the whole room with nice, loud, clean noise, then what's going to happen is that you're going to push the PA really hard if you try and mix a band or play some loud music in it, just to get the volume, and you're going to cause distortion. Eventually, you're going to blow up the PA. On the subject of gear, you also want to look out for good microphones. We're talking brand names like Sennheiser, Audix, and Shure, Neumann, DPA, things like that. Not everyone can afford this stuff, but if you open up the mic locker and it's just a bunch of no-name brands, or you Google it, or it's Hall Behringer and it costs $50 a microphone, it's not a good sign. Those are unreliable and they're not going to get you a good sound. Again, bad for your career if you can't get a good mix. You also want to make sure that there are enough microphones for the level of booking that's being done, because if a band comes in and you cannot mic up the instruments, again, very, very bad sign. The same is also true of monitor wedges and things like that. If there are no monitor wedges, or there's only a couple, that's not good if you're booking bands with 12 people in them. Lastly, you want to make sure that you have enough cables, that you have enough microphone stands, that you have enough network cables to deal with the kind of things that are coming through your venue. If you have to connect up a guest artist's mixer and you don't have a spare drum of cat cable, that's not a good sign. It's just going to make you look bad. Similarly, if the microphone stands fall to pieces, or if they droop over time, or if the cables are unreliable, they break easily, not a good sign. You're looking for good quality connectors on those cables like Neutrik or Rian. And you also want to make sure that all of this stuff is in good condition, that it doesn't have visible signs of being mistreated for years. The next thing that you need, broadly speaking, to make a job worthwhile in a venue is good people. You need people that are pleasant to get along with. The first thing that you want to look out for in the people you work with is good communication. If there's someone at the venue who's responsible for booking you for shifts, you want to make sure that they are asking you in advance if possible. We all know things happen short notice, but if you're getting your shifts on the Sunday for the next week, that's not a good sign. That should be getting arranged well in advance. Similarly, they should be very clear about the time that you're expected to work and the compensation that you will receive for that time. When you're on the job working with other people, you need to know that they will understand you when you ask them for something, and that they will be able to tell you what is expected of you. Beyond that, we want them, and us of course, to have a professional demeanour. We want them and us to turn up on time and sober and stay sober. Drinking on the job is really, really prevalent in sort of early career live sound gigs, and I just don't recommend it. If anything goes wrong and anyone's been drinking on the job, that looks really, really bad, especially if something dangerous happens, something falls off the stage, hurts someone. If you're drunk or anyone is drunk on the job, that is not going to reflect well on anyone in the room or the venue. You also want to make sure that they don't lose their temper. That's part of professionalism. Every adult human is capable of having a discussion without shouting. If anyone's shouting at you, no matter what the mistake was, not worth it. Lastly, ideally you'd like them to be a bit service-minded, and you are as well. And by that I mean that you are there to make the show happen. That should be your passion. Isn't that why we get into this? We love music. You don't want people to be skiving, I don't know if that's a dialect word, slacking off, let's say. You want them to be focused on their job, and that includes everyone artist hosts, light techs. You want everyone around you to be like that. If there is an atmosphere of just, screw it, then you're not going to gain what you can from that. If you're enjoying this video so far, I would love it if you could subscribe to the channel. I've got loads more videos like this and loads more coming. The last thing that can be a big red flag in bad venues is that there are no systems in place to make that show happen. There are no routines in place to make sure everything goes smoothly. You want to look out for systems for things like making sure that equipment is present and is well maintained. When you look for microphone cables, are they arranged neatly in boxes or drawers? Are they separated by length? If you're looking for microphone stands, is there a separate place for tall boom stands and short boom stands, tripod stands, and round base stands? Basically, you're looking for proof that when you need to find something, you can do so easily. And if you can't find it, someone else definitely can, or can very quickly say to you, yes, it's on the third shelf on the left in the box marked tape. Related to that, you want to make sure that the equipment is in the place marked for it, because some venues will have a dedicated place for storing their power cables and microphones, but for some reason, every day you go to work, you find the microphones all over the place and the power cables are in all the different rooms in the venue. So look out for that everything is where it belongs. Another routine that you should look for is repairing or replacing broken equipment. Things break, especially cables, stage boxes, and microphone stands. But what is important is that there is a solid routine for replacing and repairing those broken items. That is either taped and marked in a box, and importantly, that someone is checking that box at regular intervals, or that maybe you have like an online checklist that you fill out that goes directly to the venue manager, and some sort of follow-up scheme that makes sure that things don't just sit there in the broken box for half a year. I'd say probably the most important system that you need to look out for is some sort of routine around invoicing, payment, and working terms. If the venue does not have a very clear document which specifies how long a shift is, what your pay is per hour or per shift, what the cancellation rate is, if they cancel X number of days in advance, how much do you get paid? How much notice do you have to give them without leaving them in the lurch? Do people say that? I've been watching too much Downton Abbey. If a venue is not clear about all of the above, then there is a chance that working there is going to be very unpleasant for you. And as I mentioned at the start, these are the kind of venues that tend to try and undercut you and take advantage of younger and less experienced technicians. Leave a comment down below and let me know if any of these red flags have gone off for you when you're at work. Or maybe you run a really, really well-managed venue and you'd like to share some of your processes. Looking forward to hearing from you, and until next time, goodbye.